Hi, my name is John Pekala. I'm a geologist and I work for a firm called Ramble. We're an environmental consulting firm. I'm in the Phoenix area. I got my degree at the U of A in geosciences and then a master's degree at the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. I specialized with my master's in coastal geology. There weren't any jobs available in coastal geology and I ended up in the environmental field, and it's been a good place to work. Most of the work I do right now is in site investigation and remediation of contaminated soil and groundwater from industrial properties or historical industrial operations. I'm working on a large project in Nevada with rocket fuel contamination in soil and groundwater. So the site in Nevada that I work on has groundwater that is contaminated with perchlorate, which was from rocket fuel production back in the 1950s and 60s. And the groundwater impacts cover an area that's about 8 square miles. Obviously, if the drinking water supply were to be impacted, it would be a pretty significant issue, significant problem. So right now on the project, we are going through an investigation phase over a few years to collect hydrogeologic information and chemical information to understand the distribution of perchlorate in groundwater, and ultimately be working towards identifying the most appropriate, most cost-effective remedy to clean up the perchlorate in groundwater and reduce the potential for impacts to drinking water supplies. After I got my master's degree and I began looking for work, I wanted to work in coastal geology, but the jobs at that time just weren't there. And came across the environmental field, and I applied to a few different positions and ended up in a position with a consulting firm in the San Francisco Bay Area, primarily as a field geologist. And I worked on a project there with contaminated groundwater, solvent contamination in groundwater, and I for about a year worked as a field geologist. As my career progressed, I had opportunities to do data analysis and evaluation, ultimately getting to the point of being able to manage and implement projects. And now my primary role is management and directing projects, interacting with clients, interacting with stakeholders, interacting with the community, and really being able to implement the technical work as well as explain to others what we're doing, what problems we're solving. So I think what I'd tell an undergraduate student right now is that experience matters and grades matter. Whether your experience is a research project with a professor or an internship, those types of things, not only do they look good on your resume, but they give you practical experience that you will use on the job when you start working in your career. Grades are important too. We see a lot of resumes come in, and grades are often one of the distinguishing factors. I think what I didn't understand back then that I've really come to understand is that being a geologist in the workforce, and particularly in the environmental field, is not always about being a geologist full-time. It's certainly a component of my job, but there's so much more to it, whether it's client interactions or it's project and budget management, or if it's interacting with engineers and health risk assessors and biologists and all different colleagues to implement a project. I'm not solely a geologist anymore, and that's okay. It's been great, and I enjoy what I'm doing.